Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books here at the live studios in ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Ashram at the feet of Govardhan Hill in my room, which is my base, although my base has been shifting over to Houston lately. But anyway, sorry that we're a little late. We're still trying, like yesterday we had a very breakthrough and we used another hotspot and it worked perfectly. Whereas the day before, we still haven't been able to upload it. So 39 chapter and 40th chapter are still in the pipeline. We'll get it to you as soon as possible. Anyway, here we are. Welcome back. Welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace. This afternoon I met a family from Mayapur who are all lifetime devotees, and they didn't even know anything about our Facebook page, and they loved it, and they're going to spread it like wildfire. So here we are. Sharing means caring. So let me do a little sharing now to show my caring for you. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram from Sri Krishna Lila Stava. Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it is beautiful and deep. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprida. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshak Shadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Manistadaga Madbhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamunchagada chinmam premnarit kandayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Always read the books out loud, even to yourself. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're here with the two confidant elites, Pranata Karuna Das Brahmachari and Abhaya Das Brahmachari. We've reached the 43rd chapter of the 10th canto. Krishna kills the elephant Kuvalayapida. This chapter tells how Lord Krishna killed the lordly elephant Kuvalayapida. How Krishna and Balarama entered the wrestling arena and what Krishna said to the wrestler Chanura. After finishing the early morning rituals, Krishna and Balarama heard kettle drums heralding the start of the wrestling match, and they went to see the festivities. At the gate of the wrestling arena, they encountered an elephant named Kuvalayapida, who attacked Krishna at the urging of his keeper. The mighty elephant grabbed at Krishna with his trunk, but the Lord struck back and then disappeared from the beast's sight among his legs. Enraged at not being able to see Krishna, Kuvalayapida sought him out with his sense of smell and seized him. But the Lord pulled loose. In this way, Krishna teased and tormented Kuvalayapida, finally yanking out one of his tusks and beating him and his keepers to death. Sprinkled with the elephant's blood and carrying one of his trunks on his shoulder as a weapon, Lord Krishna appeared unprecedentedly beautiful as he entered the wrestling arena. There, the various classes of people saw him in different ways according to their specific relationships with him. In one of the Puranas, by the way, it describes that when Balaram came in to the wrestling arena with the tusks of those elephants on their shoulders, they walked right up to the front, in front of the dais. Kamsa was sitting up on a dais, and they put those two tusks in the ground and looked at him and just walked to the dais. Krishna is so expert at winding the demons up, you know? Okay. When King Kamsa heard how Krishna and Balarama had killed Kuvalayapida, he realized they were invincible and became filled with anxiety. The members of the audience, on the other hand, became joyful as they reminded one another about the Lord's amazing pastimes. The people declared that Krishna and Balaram must be two expansions of the Supreme Lord Narayana, who had descended into the house of Vasudeva. Chanura then stepped forward and challenged Krishna and Balaram to wrestle, saying King Kamsa wished to see such a match. Krishna replied, "Although we are merely nomadic forest folk, we are nonetheless subjects of the king. Thus we will not hesitate to please him with an exhibition of wrestling." As soon as Chanura heard this, he suggested that Krishna should wrestle him and that Balarama should wrestle Mushtika. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, excuse me. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, "O chastiser of enemies, Krishna and Balarama, having executed all necessary purification, then heard the kettle drums resounding at the wrestling arena, and they went there to see what was happening." Purport. Remember, Kamsa sent somebody to go get them because they were kind of winding him up again by not showing up when they were supposed to. Another exhibition of their supreme independent will. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains the words Krita Shao Chao, having executed all necessary purification, as follows. 2 days previously, Krishna and Balarama had executed their purification, their relief from offense, by performing heroic deeds. The Lord reasoned, "Even after we have made our power known by breaking the bow and by performing other feats, Our parents have still not secured freedom. Kamsa is again trying to kill them. Therefore, although he is our maternal uncle, it will not be wrong for us to kill him. They assured their offenselessness by this reasoning. They assured their offenselessness by this reasoning. Text 2. When Lord Krishna reached the entrance to the arena, he saw the elephant, Kuvalayapida, blocking his way at the urging of his keeper. Purport. The elephant keeper revealed his malicious intent by blocking Lord Krishna's entrance into the arena. Text 3. Securely binding up his clothes and tying back his curly locks, Lord Krishna addressed the elephant keeper with words as grave as the rumbling of a cloud. Purport. Lord Krishna was obviously preparing for a fight. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, the Lord put aside his jacket, tightened his belt, and tied back his hair. Text 4. Lord Krishna said, "O driver, move aside at once and let us pass. If you don't, this very day I will send both you and your elephant to the abode of Yamaraj." 5. Thus threatened, the elephant keeper became angry. He goaded his furious elephant, who appeared equal to time, death, and Yamaraj, into attacking Lord Krishna. The Lord of the Elephants charged Krishna and violently seized him with his trunk. But Krishna slipped away, struck him a blow, and disappeared from his view among his legs. Purport. Lord Krishna struck the elephant with his fist and then disappeared among his legs. 7. Infuriated at being unable to see Lord Keshava, the elephant sought him out with his sense of smell. Once again, Kuvalayapida seized the Lord with the end of his trunk, only to have the Lord forcefully free himself. Purport. Lord Krishna allowed the elephant to seize him so that the beast would be encouraged to keep fighting. Once Kuvalayapida had thus become proud, Lord Krishna again thwarted him with his superior potency. Text 8. Lord Krishna then grabbed the powerful Kuvalayapida by the tail and playfully dragged him 25 bow lengths, as easily as Garuda might drag a snake. Text 9. As Lord Achyuta held onto the elephant's tail, the animal tried to twist away to the left and to the right, making the Lord swerve in the opposite direction, as a young boy would swerve when pulling a calf by the tail. Text 10. Krishna then came face to face with the elephant and slapped him and ran away. Kuvalayapida pursued the Lord, managing to touch him again and again with each step, but Krishna outmaneuvered the elephant and made him trip and fall. 11. As Krishna dodged about, he playfully fell on the ground and quickly got up again. The raging elephant, thinking Krishna was down, tried to gore him with his tusks, but struck the earth instead. 12. His prowess foiled, the lordly elephant Kuvalayapida went into a frenzied rage out of frustration. But the elephant keepers goaded him on, and he furiously charged Krishna once again. 13. The Supreme Lord, killer of the demon Madhu, confronted the elephant as he attacked. Seizing his trunk with one hand, Krishna threw him to the ground. Text 14. Lord Hari then climbed onto the elephant with the ease of a mighty lion, pulled out a tusk, and with it killed the beast and his keepers. Text 15. Leaving the dead elephant aside, Lord Krishna held onto the tusk and entered the wrestling arena. With the tusk resting on his shoulder, drops of the elephant's blood and sweat sprinkled all over him, and his lotus face covered with fine drops of his own perspiration. The Lord shone with great beauty. Text 16. My dear King, Lord Baladev and Lord Janardhan, each carrying one of the elephant's tusks as his chosen weapon, entered the arena with several cowherd boys. 17. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid and the cowherd men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable deity. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami quotes the following verse, which explains the 10 attitudes toward Krishna described here. Raudrod bhutash chashingaro hasyam viro dayatata bhayanakash chabibatsa shantaksa prema bhakti kaha. There are 10 different moods. Fury, perceived by the wrestlers, wonder by the men, conjugal attraction, the women, laughter, the cowherds, chivalry, the kings, mercy, his parents, terror, Kamsa, ghastliness, the unintelligent, peaceful neutrality, the yogis, and loving devotion, the Vrishnis. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that people like the wrestlers, Kamsa, and the impious rulers perceived Krishna as dangerous, angry, or threatening because they failed to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. Actually, Lord Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher. But because we rebel against him, he chastises us, and thus we may perceive him as threatening. Let me read that one more time. This is really a good sentence. Actually, Lord Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher. But because we rebel against him, he chastises us, and thus we may perceive him as threatening. Krishna, or God, is actually merciful, and when he punishes us, that is also his mercy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes the following Vedic statement: Raso vaisa rasam yivayam labbananandi bhavati. He himself is rasa, the taste or mellow of a particular relationship. And certainly, one who achieves this rasa becomes anandi, filled with bliss. That's from the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.7.1. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati quotes the further verse to explain the word rasa. Vyatita bhavana vartma yaschamat karda bhada bhuhu ridi satvo jwale badham swadate sarasomataha. That which is beyond imagination, heavy with wonder, and relished in the heart, shining with goodness, such is known as rasa. As Srila Rupa Goswami elaborately explains in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 5 main rasas: neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. and 7 secondary rasas: amazement, humor, chivalry, compassion, fury, fear, and dread. Thus, although there are 12 rasas, and the supreme object of them all is Sri Krishna himself. In other words, our love and affection are actually meant for Sri Krishna. Unfortunately, out of ignorance, we stubbornly try to squeeze happiness and love out of material relationships, which are not directly connected to Krishna, and thus life becomes a constant frustration. The solution is simple: surrender to Krishna. Love Krishna. Love Krishna's devotees, and be happy forever. Text 18. When Kamsa saw that Kuvalayapida was dead and the 2 brothers were invincible, he was overwhelmed with anxiety, O king. 19. Arrayed with variegated ornaments, garlands, and garments, just like a pair of excellently costumed actors, the 2 mighty armed lords shone splendidly in the arena. Indeed, they overpowered the minds of all onlookers with their effulgences. 20. O king, as the citizens of the city and the people from outlying districts gazed upon those 2 supreme personalities from the seats in their galleries, the force of the people's happiness caused their eyes to open wide and their faces to blossom. They drank in the vision of the Lord's faces without becoming satiated. Text 20, 21 and 22. The people seemed to be drinking Krishna and Balarama with their eyes, licking them with their tongues, smelling them with their nostrils, and embracing them with their arms. Reminded of the Lord's beauty, character, charm, and bravery, the members of the audience began to describing these features to one another according to what they had seen and heard. Purport. Naturally, those who assemble in Mathura for the wrestling festival had heard the latest news of Krishna's and Balaram's adventures in the city. How the lords had broken the sacrificial bow, defeated the police, and killed the elephant, Kuvalayapida. And now that the people were seeing Krishna and Balaram in the arena, their greatest expectations were confirmed. Krishna is the embodiment of all beauty, fame, and opulence. And therefore those assembled in the wrestling arena became fully satisfied by glorifying what they had heard of him and were now seeing. Text 23. The people said, "These 2 boys are certainly expansions of the Supreme Lord Narayana, who have descended to this world in the home of Vasudeva." 24. This one, Krishna, took birth from Mother Devaki and was brought to Gokula, where he has remained concealed all this time, growing up in the house of King Nanda. Text 25. He made Putana and the whirlwind demon meet with death, pulled down the twin Arjun trees, and killed Shankachuda. He made Putana and the whirlwind demon meet with death, pulled down the twin Arjun trees, and killed Shankachuda, Keshi, Denuka, and similar demons. 26 and 27. He saved the cows and cowherds from a forest fire and subdued the serpent, Kaliya. He removed Lord Indra's false pride by holding up the best of mountains with one hand for an entire week, thus protecting the inhabitants of Gokula from rain, wind, and hail. Text 28. The gopis overcame all kinds of distress and experienced great happiness by seeing his face, which is always cheerful, with smiling glances, and ever free of fatigue. It is said that under his full protection, the Yadu dynasty will become extremely famous and attain wealth, glory, and power. 30. This lotus-eyed elder brother of his, Lord Balarama, is the proprietor of all transcendental opulences. He has killed Pralamba, Vatsaka, Baka, and other demons. Purport. In fact, 2 of the demons mentioned here were killed by Krishna, not Balarama. The reason for the mistake is that as news of Krishna's exploits spread among ordinary people, the facts became somewhat muddled. The same tendency can be observed in modern newspapers. Whoops. Text 31. While the people talked in this way and the musical instruments resounded, the wrestler Chanura addressed Krishna and Balarama with the following words. Purport. Chanura could not tolerate that the audience was so highly. Therefore, he had to say something to the 2 brothers. 32. Chanura said, O son of Nanda, O Rama, you 2 are well respected by courageous men and are both skilled at wrestling. Having heard of your prowess, the king has called you here, wanting to see for himself. Text 23. Subjects of the king who try to please him with their thoughts, acts, and words are sure to achieve good fortune, but those who fail to do so will suffer the opposite fate. Text 34. It is well known that cowherd boys are always joyful as they tend their calves, and that the boys playfully wrestle with each other while grazing their animals in the various forests. Purport. Here, Chanura explains how the 2 brothers came to be expert at wrestling. Text 35. Therefore, let's do what the king wants. Everyone will be pleased with us, for the king embodies all living beings. 36. Hearing this, Lord Krishna, who liked to wrestle and welcomed the challenge, replied with words appropriate to the time and place. 37. Lord Krishna said, although forest dwellers, we are also subjects of the Bhoja king. We must gratify his desires, for such behavior will confer upon us the greatest benefit. Text 38. We are just young boys and should play with those of equal strength. The wrestling match must go on properly so that irreligion does not taint the respectable members. Text 39. Chanura said, you aren't really a child or even a young man, and neither is Balarama, the strongest of the strong. After all, you playfully killed an elephant who had the strength of 1,000 other elephants. Text 40. Therefore, you two should fight powerful wrestlers. There's certainly nothing unfair about that. You, O descendant of Vrishni, can show your prowess against me, and Balaram cannot fight with Mushtika. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 43rd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna Kills the Elephant Kuvalayapida. Haribol! Jai Shri Shri Krishna Balaram. Well done. Well done. You killed the big elephant. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Haribol. Okay. Let's move on. Now this is a very wonderful chapter. The killing of Kamsa, chapter 44. How are we doing so far?
This is going well. I wasn't able to connect through my phone to watch. It's going okay.
Okay, good. This chapter This chapter tells how Krishna and Balarama killed the wrestlers, how Krishna killed Kamsa and consoled Kamsa's wives, and how the two lords were reunited with their mother and father. Deciding to wrestle, Lord Krishna faced off against Chanura and Lord Baladev upon Mushtika, battling arm to arm, head to head, knee to knee, and chest to chest. The opponents attacked each other so fiercely that they appeared to be harming even their own bodies. The ladies in the arena, seeing the violent battle, began to condemn the king and all the members of the assembly. A respectable audience should never have allowed a wrestling match between such huge wrestlers, whose limbs are as tough as lightning bolts, and such tender young boys who are just entering youth. We're recording. We're recording video. Hare Krishna. We just brought some fruit by our star pujari, Gornitai pujari. Hare Krishna. Okay. We'll back up just a little bit. The ladies in the arena, seeing the violent battle, began to condemn the king and all the members of the assembly. A respectable audience should never have allowed a wrestling match between such huge wrestlers, whose limbs are as tough as lightning bolts, and such tender young boys. A respectable audience should never have allowed a wrestling match between such huge wrestlers, whose limbs are as tough as lightning bolts, and such tender young boys who are just entering youth. An intelligent person should never enter an assembly if he sees injustice being done there. Because Vasudeva and Devaki did not fully understand the power of Krishna and Balarama, they became extremely unhappy when they heard the women of the audience speak these words. Sri Krishna then grabbed Chanura's arms, whirled him around several times, and threw him to the ground, killing him. Mushtika met a similar fate. After being struck powerfully by Lord Baladev's palm, he began vomiting blood and then fell down, dead. Thereupon the wrestlers named Kutta, Shala, and Toshala came forward, but Krishna and Balaram easily killed them with the blows of their fists and feet. The remaining wrestlers, fearing for their lives, all fled. Except for Kamsa, everyone present cheered Krishna and Balaram. The king, in a rage, stopped the festive music and ordered that Vasudeva, Nanda, Ugrasena, and all the cowherds be severely punished, and that Krishna and Balaram be driven away from the assembly. Krishna became furious when he heard Kamsa speak this way, and he instantly leapt onto the lofty royal dais. He grabbed Kamsa by the hair, hurled him down onto the floor of the wrestling ring, and threw himself on top of him. In this way Kamsa met his death, because out of fear Kamsa had always thought of Krishna. After his death, he gained the liberation of having a form like the Lord's. Kamsa's 8 brothers then attacked Krishna, but Balaram easily killed each of them with his club, just as a lion kills defenseless animals. Kettle drums resounded in the sky as the joyful demigods rained down flowers and chanted the glories of Lord Krishna and Lord Balarama. The wives of Kamsa, grieving for their husband, lamented that he had died because of his violence toward other living beings and his lack of respect for Krishna, the Supreme Soul, who creates, maintains, and destroys the entire universe. the Lord consoled the widows, had the funeral rites performed for Kamsa and his brothers, and then released his mother and father from bondage. Krishna offered obeisances at his parents' feet, but they, now understanding him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, did not embrace him. That's the summary. Text 1. Chukavdev Goswami said, thus addressed, Lord Krishna made up his mind to accept the challenge. He paired off with Chanura and Lord Balarama with Mushtika. Text 2. Seizing each other's hands and locking legs with each other, the opponents struggled powerfully, eager for victory. Text 3. They each struck fists against fists, knees against knees, head against head, and chest against chest. Purport. The word aratni in this verse may indicate the elbow as well as the fist. Thus, blows were perhaps also struck with the elbow, a technique seen today in various martial arts. Text 4. Each fighter contended with his opponent by dragging him about in circles, shoving and crushing him, throwing him down, and running before and behind him. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that the word pariramba indicates crushing one's opponent with one's arms. Text 5. Forcefully lifting and carrying each other, pushing each other away and holding each other down, the fighters hurt even their own bodies in their great eagerness for victory. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that although Krishna and Balarama did not, of course, harm themselves, it appeared that way to Chanura, Mushtika, and others of mundane vision. In other words, the lords were fully absorbed in the pastime of being wrestlers. Text 6. My dear king, all the women present, considering the imagined unfair fight between the strong and the weak, felt extreme anxiety and compassion. They assembled in groups around the arena and spoke to one another as follows. Text 7. The women said, Alas, what a greatly irreligious act the members of this royal assembly are committing. As the king watches this fight between the weak, they also want to see it. Purport. The idea the ladies are expressing is that even if the king somehow wants to see such an unfair fight, why should the respectable members of the assembly also desire to see it? These feelings are natural. Even nowadays, if in a public place we find a violent fight going on between a very strong, large person and a weaker, smaller person, we are aroused to indignation. Compassionate women are especially offended and enraged by such unfair violence. Text 8. What comparison can there be between these two professional wrestlers, with limbs as strong as lightning bolts and bodies resembling mighty mountains, and these two young, immature boys with exceedingly tender limbs? Text 9. Religious principles have certainly been violated in this assembly. One should not remain for even a moment in a place where irreligion is flourishing. Text 10. A wise person should not enter an assembly if he knows the participants there are committing acts of impropriety. And if, having entered such an assembly, he fails to speak the truth, speaks falsely, or pleads ignorance, he will certainly incur sin. Text 11. Just see the lotus fate of Krishna. Just see the lotus face of Krishna as he darts around his foe. That face, covered with drops of perspiration brought about by the strenuous fight, resembles a lotus bud covered with dew. 12. Don't you see the face of Lord Balarama with its eyes copper red from his anger toward Mushtika, and its beauty enhanced by his laughter and his absorption in the fight? How pious are the tracts of land in Braja, for there the primeval personality of Godhead, disguising himself with human traits, wanders about, enacting his many pastimes. Adorned with wonderfully variegated forest garlands, he whose feet are worshipped by Lord Shiva and Goddess Rama vibrates his flute as he tends the cows in the company of Balarama. Purport. In this verse, the devoted ladies in the audience point out the difference. In this verse, the devoted ladies in the audience point out the difference between Mathura and Vrindavan. They want to indicate that in Vrindavan, Krishna simply enjoys with his girlfriends and boyfriends, whereas here in Mathura, the Lord is subjected to harassment by the bullying tactics of professional wrestlers. Thus the ladies are condemning the city of Mathura because their plan at seeing Krishna in what they consider an unfair wrestling match. I'm sorry, I have to say that again. Thus the ladies are condemning the city of Mathura because of their pain at seeing Krishna in what they consider an unfair wrestling match. Of course, Mathura is also one of the Lord's eternal abodes, but here the women in the assembly express their love in a critical mood. 14. What austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of Lord Krishna's form, which is the essence of loveliness and not to be equaled or surpassed, and is not to be equaled or surpassed. That form is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. Purport. The word meanings and translation for this verse are from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 4, 156. Text 15. The ladies of Vraja are the most fortunate of women, because with their minds fully attached to Krishna and their throats always choked up with tears, they constantly sing about him while milking the cows, winnowing grain, churning butter, gathering cow dung for fuel, riding on swings, taking care of their crying babies, sprinkling the ground with water, cleaning their houses, and so on. By their exalted Krishna consciousness, they automatically acquire all desirable things. Text 16. When the gopis hear Krishna playing his flute as he leaves Braja in the morning with his cows, or returns with them at sunset, the young girls quickly come out of their houses to see him. They must have performed many pious activities to be able to see him as he walks on the road, his smiling face mercifully glancing upon them. 17. Shukadeva Goswami continued. As the women spoke thus, the hero of the Bharats, Lord Krishna, the master of all mystic power, made up his mind to kill his opponent. Text 18. Out of affection for the two lords, their parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, became overwhelmed with sorrow when they heard the women's fearful statements. They grieved not knowing their son's strength. Purport. Naturally, Krishna's parents would lament in this situation, thinking, why didn't we keep our sons at home? Why did we allow them to participate in this corrupt exhibition? 19. Lord Balaram and Mushtika, expertly displaying numerous wrestling techniques, battled each other in the same way that Lord Krishna and his opponent did. 20. The harsh blows from the Supreme Lord's limbs fell like crushing lightning bolts upon Chanura, breaking every part of his body and causing him more and more pain and fatigue. Purport. Chanura's elbows, arms, knees, and other limbs were all weakening. 21. Furious, Chanura attacked Lord Vasudeva with the speed of a hawk and struck his chest with both fists. Purport. It appears that Chanura, realizing he was being defeated, became furious and made a final attempt to defeat Lord Krishna. The demon certainly had the spirit of a good fighter, but if he hoped for victory, he was certainly in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person. Hare Krishna. Text 22 to 23. No more shaken by the demon's mighty blows than an elephant struck with a flower garland, Lord Krishna grabbed Chanura with it by his arms, swung him around several times, and hurled him onto the ground with great force. His clothes, hair, and garlands scattering, the wrestler fell down, dead, like a huge festival column collapsing. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains the words Indra Dvaja as follows. In Bengal, on the occasion of a certain festival, people erect a tall column in the form of a man and decorate it with flags, banners, etc. He, Chanura, fell just as such a pole might fall. Text 24 and 25. Similarly, Mushtika struck Lord Balabhadra. Similarly, Mushtika struck Lord Balabhadra with his fist and was slain. Receiving a violent blow from the mighty Lord's palm, the demon trembled all over in great pain, vomited blood, and then fell lifeless onto the ground, like a tree blown down by the winds. Text 26. Confronted next by the wrestler Kuta, Lord Balaram, the best of fighters, playfully and nonchalantly killed him with his left fist, O king. Then Krishna kicked in Shala's head and tore Toshala in half, and both wrestlers fell down dead. Whoa. Krishna's not messing around here. Text 28. Chanura, Mushtika, Kuta, Shala, and Toshala, having been killed, the remaining wrestlers all fled for their lives. 29. Krishna and Balaram then called their young cowherd boyfriends to join them, and in their company the lords danced about and sported, their ankle bells resounding as musical instruments played. Just another bit of information. From another Purana, we hear that at this point, Krishna called the cowherd boys and they started wrestling. And the cowherd boys defeated Krishna and Balaram in front of Kamsa. Purport. Nowadays we see that in championship boxing matches, as soon as there is a victory, all the friends and relatives of the victorious boxer rush into the ring to congratulate him, and often the champion will dance about in great happiness. Exactly in this mood, Krishna and Balaram danced about, celebrating their victory with their friends and relatives. Text 30. Everyone except Kamsa rejoiced at the wonderful feat Krishna and Balaram had performed. The exalted Brahmanas and great saints exclaimed, "Excellent, excellent." Purport. It is understood that as the best of the Brahmanas and saints were exclaiming, "Excellent, excellent," the worst of the Brahmanas, namely Kamsa's priests, were seriously grieving. Text 31. That's what it means, a Brahmana name only. Translation. The Boja king, seeing that his best wrestlers had all been killed, or had fled, stopped the musical performance originally meant for his pleasure and spoke the following words. 32. Kamsa said, "Drive the 2 wicked sons of Vasudeva out of the city. Confiscate the cowherd's property and arrest that fool Nanda." 33. "Kill that most evil fool Vasudeva and also kill my father Ugrasena along with his followers who have all sided with our enemies." Text 34. As Kamsa thus raved so audaciously, the infallible Lord Krishna, intensely angry, quickly and easily jumped up onto the high royal dais. Seeing Lord Krishna approaching like death personified, the quick-witted Kamsa instantly rose from his seat and took up his sword and shield. Like as if he's going to do something after what he's seen. Sword in hand, Kamsa moved quickly from side to side, like a hawk in the sky. But Lord Krishna, whose fearsome strength is irresistible, powerfully seized the demon, just as the son of Tarksha might capture a snake. Grabbing Kamsa by the hair and knocking off his crown, the lotus-naveled Lord threw him off the elevated dais onto the wrestling mat. Then the independent Lord, the support of the entire universe, threw himself upon the king. Purport. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada describes the death of Kamsa as follows. Krishna at once straddled his chest and began to strike him over and over again. Simply from the strokes of Krishna's fist, Kamsa lost his vital force. 38. As a lion drags a dead elephant, the Lord then dragged Kamsa's dead body along the ground in full view of everyone present. O king, all the people in the arena tumultuously cried out, "Oh, oh!" Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that many people in the audience thought Kamsa had simply been knocked unconscious when thrown from the lofty dais. Therefore Lord Krishna dragged his corpse so everyone could realize that the evil king was indeed dead. Thus the exclamation, "Ha, ha," indicates how surprised the people were that the king was suddenly dead and gone. The audience's astonishment is also mentioned in the Vishnu Purana. Tato ha ha kritam sarvam asit tad rangamandalam abhagyaya hatam drishtva krishnena matureshwaram. Then the entire arena became filled with cries of astonishment as the people saw that the master of Mathura had been contemptuously killed by Krishna. Haribo, Sri Krishna ki jai. Text 39. Kamsa had always been disturbed by the thought that the Supreme Lord was to kill him. Therefore, while drinking, eating, moving about, sleeping, or simply breathing, the king had always seen the Lord before him with the disc weapon in his hand. Thus, Kamsa achieved the rare boon of attaining a form like this. Purport. Although born out of fear, Kamsa's constant meditation on the Supreme Lord eradicated all his offenses, and therefore the demon was liberated upon his death at the Lord's hands. Text 40. Kamsa's 8 younger brothers, led by Kanka and Nyagrodaka, then attacked the lords in a rage, seeking to avenge their brother's death. As they ran swiftly toward the 2 lords, ready to strike, the son of Rohini slew them with his club, just as a lion easily kills other animals. 42. Kettle drums resounded in the sky, as Brahma, Shiva, and other demigods, the Lord's expansions, rained down flowers upon him with pleasure. They chanted his praises, and their wives danced. 43. My dear king, the wives of Kamsa and his brothers, aggrieved by the death of their well-wishing husbands, came forward with tearful eyes, beating their heads. 44. Embracing their husbands, who lie on a hero's final bed, the sorrowful women loudly lamented while shedding constant tears. 45. The women cried out, Alas, O Master, O dear one, O knower of religious principles, O kind and compassionate protector of the shelterless, by your being slain, we have also been slain, together with your household and offspring. 46. O great hero among men, bereft of you, its master, this city has lost its beauty, just as we have, and all festivity and good fortune within it have come to an end. 47. O dear one, you have been brought to this state because of the terrible violence you committed against innocent creatures. How can one who harms others attain happiness? Purport. Having expressed their sentimental grief, the ladies now speak practical wisdom. They are beginning to see things realistically because their minds were purified by the agony of recent events and by the association of Lord Krishna. 48. Lord Krishna causes the appearance and disappearance of all beings in this world, and he is their maintainer as well. One who disrespects him can never prosper happily. Text 49. Shukadeva Goswami said, after consoling the royal ladies, Lord Krishna, sustainer of all the worlds, arranged for the prescribed funeral rites to be performed. Text 50. Then Krishna and Balarama released their mother and father from bondage and offered obeisances to them, touching their feet with their heads. 51. Devaki and Vasudeva, now knowing Krishna and Balarama to be the lords of the universe, simply stood with joined palms. Being apprehensive, they did not embrace their sons. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 44th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Killing of Kamsa. Well done, Sri Krishna and Balarama. Well done, Haribol, Haribol. All glories to Sri Krishna. All glories to Sri Krishna Balaram. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Hare Krishna. All right, that's about an hour. It's coming out like that. Two chapters is about an hour. Okay. So I'm not sure if we have any onliners. Online. Do we have any questions or reflections or ecstasies pouring forth through the wires that are normally here, or airwaves rather? Yes.
The younger Prabhu is,
Huh?
the younger Prabhu is expressing his gratitude.
Oh.
About
Hey Deep,
Hey Divyanga Prabhu, thanks for listening.
He says, thank you for your gracious hospitality and for being there all these years. One of the best Kartiks I've ever had. Dandavats to you and Vaish. Please offer my obeisances to a C. Krishna Maharaj and all the other Prabhus in Bhaktivedanta Ashram.
Thank you, Divyanga Prabhu. I mean, it wasn't like your first time here. Everybody just felt like you'd been here forever or every single time. So, your family, Hare Krishna, we'll keep a space for you every year from now on. Hare Krishna. And thanks for your encouraging words. It's really important to me. Everyone needs encouragement, and this... sorry. I have to repeat what I just said to Divyanga because I want him to hear it. Divyanga Prabhu, thank you very much for your encouraging words. Everyone needs them, and I'm no exception. And the fact that you're listening is giving me great joy. And just know that even though this was your first time for the Govardhan Vrat, Vaisheshika Prabhu and I felt, and everyone else did also, that you were just never not been there. So we're staking out a little territory for you in your room from every year from now on. Krishna willing. Hare Krishna. Thank you again. It's also encouraging that it's going out. It's going out. The recording is going out. Anybody else from out there in cyberspace want to enlighten us further with their realizations, reflections? Anybody with questions? If not, we got a couple of stalwart intellectuals over here, ready to burst forth with their torrent of questions. Hare Krishna. Very happy. I think that the recording was okay tonight. We probably would have gotten some kind of, message.
I can say something.
Okay, Pranat has got something.
I was reflecting while hearing this, especially on the verse that stated how this is how Krishna and Balaram are fully absorbed in their pastimes of being wrestling. I was reflecting that most every other time I've heard this pastime, I'm kind of focusing on, the fighting and the action. But this time, I was really struck by different details that were given. Like, for example, especially that verse of how all the different devotees were viewing Krishna and how, they were seeing him according to their relationship. And then we were hearing the ladies who were expressing their love in a critical mood, and we're hearing from them. And then right after them we heard from Krishna's parents who were seeing him in a different way. And I was just really struck by the profundity of just not just okay, Krishna's doing this and then Krishna's doing that, but actually just taking a moment to reflect and remember really who Krishna is. And the pastime was entirely different to me in a way I thought was quite profound.
Very nice, very nice. Yes, Shastra says that Krishna came. I mean, we always hear Paritranaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Dushritam, comes to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. But he also comes to show, the potency of the Absolute Truth, and to show that yes, the Absolute Truth is a fact, and is a person, and is personal. and has all these different relationships and all these different emotions and all these different ways of showing the absolute truth's power and opulence, but at the same time sweetness. And in that way we can see that he is actually absolute truth. So it's like, in other words, what I was thinking about when I was reading it was, isn't it wonderful how Krishna is proving himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And was from some of the same reasons you were thinking. I was thinking the same things. That it wasn't just about the strength of his arms and how he was dealing with all the elephant and the wrestlers, and what to speak of Kamsa. And the other thing I was thinking, but he's the Supreme Absolute Truth. Everyone has a relationship with him. Everyone's attached to him. Everyone's attracted to him. Because repulsion is the other side of attraction. No one can help but be attracted to Krishna. Either they hate him, or they just love him full on, and everything else in between. I had a reflection I'll share with you, that when Kamsa was giving his speech, and it was like a script right out of Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter. This one is my enemy, and I have killed this one, and I will kill my other enemy, and therefore I will live, gloriously at this and that. I'll perform sacrifice and enjoy. And then Krishna said, in this way, the demons overcome by ignorance are bewildered by ignorance. And I was thinking also of how things are going on today politically in the world. Because the politicians are they're not straightforward, they're not honest. And in the verses, it's glorifying, the virtue, and the people's critical critiques of what was going on, not just in terms of the wrestlers of Krishna, but the ones that were organizing it. And even the lady said, even the ones who are watching it, how can you watch this? Anyway, I could go into little detail, but I won't go into more detail about that. I'll let the imagination of the devotees that are keeping track of what's going on in the world, I let their imagination take it to the conclusion. But there are leaders on our planet right now who are acting like this. They could care less about anyone but themselves. Panditu's got something to add to that here.
Yeah. I was also thinking that. And whenever Chanura first, whenever everyone was praising Krishna and he couldn't tolerate that, so he had to say something to him. And he started glorifying the king, and I was thinking of the same thing, and I was thinking about when you have leaders like that, and then the question might come in someone's mind, how can such a large group of people follow someone like that? And I was just kind of meditating on that also with hearing Chanur and just kind of thinking about how he could think this was okay and like where his mind was.
Yeah. Well, it happens to be a law of nature. The universe is organized in a way that there's leaders and followers. And the number of leaders are small and the number of followers are big. And when somebody gets power, look what happened to Hitler. And the same kinds of things are going on in America right now. Large numbers of people are attending these big rallies, and there are all kinds of gross things being said, and it's all about, emotion and riling people up and causing them to hate the other people, and chants of strange chants, lock him up, kill him. This is going on in America right now today, and it is frightening. And we should be very serious about this. We should be very serious about getting these things out, these books out, so that people can read them. Especially I was thinking when we did the Krishna book, it's such a wonderful masterpiece that Prabhupada wrote, the Krishna book. People need to get this book out there. I mean, we need to get this book out there to as many people as possible. Because until the people understand, then by the laws of nature, the leaders have power, and the people become exploited, and then sometimes follow out of duty or out of fear or whatever, fear of retribution. But now, of course, Krishna now has solved the situation, and he's going to place, Kamsa's father again in charge, which is the natural order. That's Krishna's duty. He just, makes everything again normal and natural and in the proper order according to nature's laws, because they're his laws. Got something else over there? Ah, okay. We just heard that Rati's on the line. Hari Bol, Rati.
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I just tuned in, but I have a small reflection about yesterday's reading. I thought that Krishna was so kind, actually, that he was willing to accept second-hand clothes of King Kamsa as an offering. Even when the washer didn't want to give them, he still snatched them and wore them together with Balaram.
Well, thanks, Rati. I accept that, but I see it a little bit differently, rather than because he is being kind to Kamsa, because Krishna is kind to everyone, and everything he does is kindness. But on the other hand, as I've mentioned a few times, he's really expert at winding up the enemy, winding up the demons, and he did that partly to wind up Kamsa, because all these things are getting back to Kamsa, all the things that he's doing, and Kamsa is getting more and more wound up and more, absorbed in fear. And although it's a fact that it's as we read, because he was constantly meditating on Krishna, he got a form in the Vishnu form, no doubt about that. But still, there are different rasas, and Krishna was definitely the ghastly rasa. Remember, we heard that Kamsa saw Krishna as death. So yes, the mercy of Krishna comes in many ways, and sometimes we think of mercy as being a pat on the head or a slap on the back or encouraging words or reward or something like that, But when reversals come, it's also the mercy of Krishna, every single time. So yes, I appreciate your point. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to stop now. That's almost an hour and a half. Well, more than an hour. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Geo, the internet gods over here, who have allowed us to do a couple of, readings without too much interference. And we also learned some tricks, and that's what you have to do. As time goes on, we have to become more tricky to do things in India. We turned off all the devices and turned them back on to reset them. At first, when he started, the Facebook wouldn't do anything. It refused to do the recording. We said, oh no, it's going to be another one of those. Anyway, Rati, if you have an idea about how we can send that recording for day before yesterday, which was 39 to 41, which is still missing in the list, we'll suggestions are welcome. Not right now, but send me a message. Well, we're planning. It's on the works. We're trying again to send it, and it says that it's doing it, but then it just stops after a long time, and just nothing seems to happen. But we're hoping that the last time we sent it, it's still trying to do it, so that if we get to the West, it will do it. And maybe it might. We're not so technically qualified over here, but we got to buy on the job. He's got his eyes fixed on it. He's going to become expert. And for the rest of you, Hare Krishna, and we'll see you tomorrow, 4 o'clock, same place, same station, same time. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Sri Krishna Balaram ki jai. The killing of the demon Kamsa ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. See you tomorrow.